Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams, and we have a Carolina great with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, he hails from Moon Township, PA. He attended the University of North Carolina from 2017 to 2019. He was a first team All ACC player, but more importantly, he's a great individual. He's an outstanding representation of the institution. He plays for the Phoenix Suns. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Cam Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate underrated fact of that introduction was Carolina great. That hit me. That was I really appreciate you saying that.
Hey man, listen. The one thing that you already know about me. I'm not gonna blow smoke up your tail. I'm gonna call it what it is. And
that's elite company right there, huh? That's elite company.
For sure. And the great thing about it is you earned it. It wasn't given to you. You earned it. And so, I most definitely love to celebrate you because you're an earner. You work hard at it. You defeated the odds. And a lot of these kids in today's society need to have an individual like yourself as an example. And it means a lot to us to have you here on the Carolina Conversation. It means a lot to me that you took the time because, ladies and gentlemen, we also know that, he's on one of the best teams in the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA. And he's having a great season. He's had two great seasons. And, he's an integral part in what they do. And he's taking the time out from his busy schedule while being on the road as a professional to spend some time with us. So I want to say thank you. So, how are things going for you, Cam?
Busy but fun. Man, between last season and this season, last season we had all those games pushed together that felt like we were playing every single day. And then you add in a finals run, a short off season, and 8 weeks later we're back in training camp and flying through it again. So it's been busy, but that's what we signed up for. It's been a lot of fun. We got a team that likes to play together, a team that is well coached, guys that buy in. So it's just, professional experience is interesting, and you hear a lot of different sides of people's experiences. But I can pretty confidently say mine's been a lot of fun, and I've had some great guys alongside me.
Yeah. There's some interesting things that you just said about how short your off season was, and a lot of people don't take into context when you're winning and you're playing in the conference finals or playing in the NBA finals. It comes back around.
It does. It does, especially in this case because we finished mid-July, July 21st. And on a normal season, the finals will end in, mid-June, June 15th.
Yes.
So that's a whole month chopped off our already shortened off season. Like I said, 8 weeks, enough to barely lick your wounds and get right back to it.
Yeah. And so now being a professional, Cam, we've had conversations in the past about, Cam, look at this as a profession, work, the work that it takes and things like that. So now that you're actually that consummate professional, tell me the difference in, hearing it and then actually being in it and going through it daily.
When you're a professional, it's a little different level that is required of you, and it's not always physical. That's the first lesson I learned. It is not always physical. Being a professional does not mean working and running around till your legs fall off, shooting the ball till your arms fall off. And I learned that pretty early. There's a lot of times early in my career where I would, be in the gym, putting hours in, coming back late, shooting extra, coming in every single off day and getting another full workout in. And my coach and my GM, both of them on their own accord, will pull me aside and be like, young buck, don't kill yourself now. Don't overdo it now.
Right.
Be smart. And I was like, all right, I get that. Like, no, this is a long season. And perform when you need to perform. So taking into account all those variables and then learning what works best for yourself. I think that's the biggest part of being professional, learning what works for yourself so that you can step on the court every night and perform. Mm-hmm. And the games come quick, every other day, sometimes back-to-backs. And if, you get a little break, that's 2 days in between games. So they come quick. So learning how to keep yourself in shape, learning how to keep, your body feeling good. And a lot of that is focusing on your body and the recovery and building yourself up during the season and during the off season so that you can withstand the bumps and the bruises of an 82-game schedule. That's to me what becoming a professional entailed, because there is a lot of work physically. There is the running around phase that you have to get through. There is I don't want to work out today, but I'm gonna put in 2 hours in the gym that you have to get through. A lot of people have to get through to that. But that mentality doesn't go away. That kind of grinded out mentality doesn't go away even if you scale back the workouts a little bit, which I think is the important thing to keep in mind.
Right. That's some interesting things that you're giving to these people that are listening. The professionalism and the mental aspect of it is, a lot of times it goes unseen, it goes unheard of, and so that's great that you're adapting to that, and it's benefiting you a great deal because your performances and being in the position that you're in now, in your second year in the NBA. I mean, and having the road and the opportunities and the responsibility, how does that feel? Because a lot of times people aren't put in those positions that, they're a very important player on a very important team. So how's that responsibility for you?
I really do my best to keep it on perspective. I really do my best to keep it on perspective so that the moment or the situation never feels like it's too much. And when I say that, I mean, for example, I have little mental checks. So you think back to when we're little or when we're playing in middle school, high school, elementary school, even in college, we all had the same dream, basically, and that's to play at this level and to compete for NBA championships and to compete at this highest level. And when you just think back to how you felt when you were younger and saying, hey, you're in this position now, then it kind of clears your mind and allows you to do your best to take advantage of it and to enjoy it. That's one thing that you can easily lose is the joy. A lot of people hang it up when that joy is gone.
Right.
But when you're playing with that joy kind of pushing you along, then the pressures don't seem like pressures. The stressors don't seem as stressful. And you're able to focus and have fun, and you're able to bounce back from maybe disappointment or bad performances a lot better. Yeah.
Very interesting perspective, but a great perspective for people. This is going to be my last little question for you about this segment in your life. And I don't know if people actually get a chance to think about it because when I was blessed enough to be in that position, I never thought about it. But it is something that is a blessing, and it's a great opportunity, and it'll be with you for the rest of your life. How does it feel being one of the best players in the world?
It feels surreal. There's only 450 of us right now,
right,
actively playing, and there's 7 billion people in the world.
Yes.
And we're all competitors. So to be just in that company, that's another checkpoint that I talk about. It's another, perspective placement where it's like, these are the 450 best players in the world. And, we have the best record in the league right now, and we're fighting to hold on to that. But you talk about that and it just keeps dwindling. All these filters you put on, it keeps dwindling. And it feels good, and it takes work. And it's another thing that on days where you need to get what you need to get done, it's just think about that. There's 450 of us, and there's thousands upon thousands of professionals that want that spot at any given moment. So
yeah, that's something. That's something. Yeah, it's something to think about. Well, this is the most important part right here, man. This is the this is the nuts and bolts, and this is the foundation. Tell us about, if you can, tell us about 2017. Young man is one of the best transfers in the country. Everybody's trying to get this young man. And this young man, Cameron Johnson, everybody sees his talent, his ability to shoot the basketball, his effects on the game. They know that he's an outstanding individual, outstanding student. He would be great on any campus, from all Power Fives to the Ivy Leagues, all of the above. What made Cam Johnson choose the University of North Carolina?
To answer that question in a short way, first, I would say playing against them. Okay. Playing against them. I played against Carolina for 3 years, and when the times I played against them, they kind of overwhelmed you with a certain style of play. It's like you're in the game. Oh, everything's fine. Then boom, 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 basket, 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 and they crash the glass and run. We used to have Carolina focus scouts, Carolina focus practices leading up naturally. And every time we play a team, we do a little bit of their system, the way they play. And we'd have our scout team run that. But when we played Carolina, we would have 6 guys on the other team, with one of them just running down the court to try to get a transition bucket every time. We focused on 2 things. We didn't even run any of their sets. It was just box them out, and we would send 4 people back. We wouldn't even crash the offensive glass because we were so worried about their transition. So that style of play, you're watching, you're like, that seems kind of fun. But beyond that, when I left Pittsburgh, I wasn't allowed to talk to any ACC schools. So I wasn't allowed to talk to Carolina. This was early April. And between early April and mid-May is when my appeal went through and I was able to talk to them. I had a whole recruiting process already. So I had already, because I couldn't just hold out hope that I would be able to talk to any ACC schools and that the situation would even be right at any of them. And when I say ACC schools, I knew in the back of my head, there was really only one I wanted to go to, and that was Carolina. So I went through the process and had my schools that I wanted to go to that weren't North Carolina. But along the way, something would happen. A guy would come back, a recruit would sign, and it was just, the business is the business. You can go and compete for spots, but there's always, you can find a situation that fits you the best. And when I got the appeal to go through, which was a wild process in and of itself, arguing against compliance officers and in front of the board of education at Pitt, and just trying to get them to remove the block, was just wild. And as soon as I got it down, I got a call from Coach Williams, and went down on a visit shortly thereafter, and it just felt like a good place. Felt like a good place to be. You saw Justin's success. Justin's with us now in Phoenix, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool part of this whole thing. But Justin's success at the wing position just the year prior, and good guys, guys that I got along with well pretty quickly. And I got family down in the Carolinas too, so it's just an environment that I felt like I could be very comfortable in, and it didn't let me down one bit. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I do remember that process. I do remember it being national news about, I don't know who was blocking you, whether it was Pittsburgh or
Pittsburgh. It was Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And so I really felt, bad for you as an individual, because you had done everything that you needed to do as a student athlete. And, it seems as if they were trying to keep you as property, as opposed to, allowing you to, further, your education academically as well as athletically. And,
and I, during the process, I had to look at it from both sides. I had to look at it from both sides. From my perspective, it was a new coach, a new athletic director we had lost 11 scholarship players from the prior year, 11 out of 13, and a whole new team. We even had a new logo and new colors to the school, like
Right.
a whole entire school that, as I knew it when I signed there, when I played there, didn't even really exist anymore in the same
Right.
capacity that I knew it. So that, that was a big part of it. And then, but, from Pittsburgh side, I could understand it. You don't want a player that you had to leave and go within conference, but it's the game. And I had to do what was best for myself. And I thought that experience was best for myself. And I'm very thankful and appreciative that they let me move on to that.
Yeah. Well, for me, honestly, I can't see it from an institution's perspective, because if a coach wanted to leave Pittsburgh
and go, and that's exactly what I argue. I'm just saying from the emotional side of it. I can understand the emotional side of it, but it was, I can, and that is how I ended up winning it, by saying that exactly, by saying that it is just unfair. I fulfill my obligations. The situation is not the same. Why should they be able to tell me you can go here, but you can't go there. Oh, you can play here, but is the only, like, find any other industry, any other profession in the world where they'll do that to you when other people have the freedom to move about freely.
No question. No question.
And that's exactly how I got through.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't have been a case, but we're most thankful. We're glad and thankful that somebody was thinking, had the right, thought process about that situation. So here it is. You choose University of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so when you get to the University of North Carolina, how was that whole situation? How was that, your first day on campus, your first day coming?
Let me ask you, what do you think? What do you think I'm gonna answer to that question? Like, if you were to guess, like, first day on campus, how do you think I'm feeling? If you were to just guess, no, just a pure guess.
Well, I think I have my thought process about it, but this is not about Shammond Williams. I'm the host, Cam. I'm the host.
Right. I'll tell you, because this is funny. Because this is the funny part of it. This is the funny part of it. Let's say my first 3 or 4 days on campus.
Yes.
I was like, man, what am I doing? So I had I'm living in a dorm, like,
right.
Basically I'm living in Ram, so I'm living in a dorm. I don't know anything around campus. I don't know, like, the flow. I don't know the coaches extremely well. I don't know the flow of practice, the flow of workouts, how everything works. So I'm just finding myself, hey guys, what does this mean? Hey guys, what does that mean? Hey guys, like, what's a good spot? What's a good spot to go right now? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And as somebody who had graduated from college, who had spent 3 years grinding from the bottom to get to the point where I can call the shot, I can tell, I can say, we're doing this today. I can say we're doing that today. I can tell the young guys whatever. I'm the one, I got all the coaches' trust. I said, man, and then it hit me. I was like, man, I gave that up, didn't I? I gave it up. I have to start from the bottom again in terms of just, like, Pittsburgh is home. Pittsburgh is home. And it's just, I knew the place like the back of my hand. I knew the system, I knew the program, I knew the people, besides all the 10 newcomers we had coming in, but they would still be, like, under me.
Right.
So I was like, man, this is the first 3-4 days. I was like, man, this is weak. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a freshman. I'm a graduated freshman. And so then I remember having a conversation with my parents about this. I said, guys, I'm a freshman again. Like, I don't know what's going on. And they were like, hey, when you want something, you got to be uncomfortable sometimes.
That's right.
And that's exactly what it comes. I had to be uncomfortable for a week. That's all it took. I had to be uncomfortable for a week in order to get to the next phase of my life. Right.
Now, what was your experience with the pickup games when you hit camp?
They were fun. They were having former players back playing. a competitive, lively atmosphere with people waiting to come on. Like you can't just lose and think you're going to stay on the court. That was one of my favorite things, especially on my visit. That was one of my favorite things about it was 5-6 alums playing against the current guys, competitive atmosphere. I think that spoke even more than just pickup itself. It spoke to the strength of the bond. Because I had been in college before, so I understood how everything worked.
Right.
And it's not normal for that many guys to come back and be associated with the program at one time. And this is generations of players. You're talking about from Rasheed Wallace, who graduated 20 years ago, to Marcus Page, who graduated 2 years before that. And these guys coming back, playing, spending time with the guys. I was like, there's something to this. Like, this is different. This is special. And that speaks for itself. That's kind of the Carolina family brand. That's how it's not just talk. Like it came as a result of everything that happened. And so that was my favorite part. And that's ultimately probably what steered me to go there, was that family environment. And those pickup games were fun for sure.
Yeah. So now, you're going into your first season, the first practice. You alluded to practicing against or trying to prepare for it to play against Carolina. Yeah. Now you're in that environment, and now you get to see the nuances of it and what it took and what it takes. How was that transformation for you to like, whoa, okay, I see why it's like this.
There is no secret transition drill. There is no secret rebounding drill. That's what I found out. And here's the thing about it. Kevin Stallings, the head coach my last year at Pitt, was at Kansas under Coach Williams.
Yep.
And so he took a lot of his stuff from Coach Williams. Everything down to the practice plan, to the offensive emphasis, defensive emphasis, start of the day, and then the first layup drill that we do. So in that regard, it was like, oh, finally, something I know. Something I know what I'm doing here. Like the thoughts of the day were the same, It's amazing what can be accomplished when no one who cares who gets the credit. Like we had to say that plenty of times in our pit huddles, Right. So I was like, oh, okay, so this is a little bit of familiarity here. But the funny thing is about the way we play was there's no magic formula. It's just a consistent effort. And it was almost like alarmingly simple, like to the point where anytime I coach now, like let's just say I take a group of kids at a camp and I coach them.
Right.
I tell them 3 things: take care of the ball, run, and rebound. And it's so crazy how when you really get them to focus on those 3 things, you win.
Right.
And the way we practiced, the way we played, it was just getting in shape to play at that level, because the hardest thing to do in basketball is to crash the glass consistently and still be good offensively in transition and defensively in transition. And I will say that forever. That is the hardest thing, because it takes an enormous amount of energy, and you're doubling your steps if you crash the glass, and you're doubling them at a high pace if you're running back offense and defense. Right. And so I think like it just seemed to me the whole philosophy was play through that fatigue in practice, play through maybe some sloppiness at the beginning of the season, and over time watch it become what it becomes. And you watch the games, down the stretch in conference play and in the tournament, and you see, man, the team looks like they're just clicking. They're moving the ball, they're scoring, they're defending, they're rebounding. And it's like it takes steps to get there. And those steps are that constant attention to the simple things.
You're absolutely right. And so, there you are, you're in the Carolina, uniform, you're in practice. How was it to now, to begin to play games? Because, you were once a person that was given that best shot. Hey, this Carolina coming to town, we're going to give them everything that we got. Now you have that uniform on, and now everybody's giving you their best shot.
Well, let's get some background context to this. So going into my first game in a Carolina uniform. Well, what would have been. I went up for a layup in practice, landed funny, and tore my meniscus and had to get surgery on it. So I missed the first 6 weeks of my Carolina career, which ended up being 11 games. And that was frustrating, obviously. It's like, come on, man. Like, you put in all this work in the offseason, go through all this stuff with transferring, and now I'm out for 6 weeks. So put it to the side, rehab, get ready to play. My first game back is against Wofford, right? It's Wofford. It's cool. It is, it's coach pulled me aside. He's like, we're playing Wofford. He literally pulled me aside in the hallway before the game and said, we're playing Wofford today. 6 to 8 minutes just to get you back in shape. We should handle them easy. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. Give me a couple minutes, feel out the game, get that first initial, put the jersey on, check into the game out of the way, and we'll be all right. Man, Wofford came in and whooped our butts, beat us only by 5, but you would think they won the Super Bowl the way they left the court. And it was on ESPN for days. Somehow Wofford beat number 5 Carolina. And I ended up playing 15 minutes, was gassed the whole entire time because there's nothing that you can compare to game shape.
That's right.
And it was like, man, like that is a weak way to start, right? Man, first non-conference at home loss, but first non-rank. I'm like, dang, like, but you learn quick. People give Carolina their absolute best shot, and it wasn't anything that was surprising because when we played them, when I was at Pitt, it was the same thing. It's like, oh, we're playing in the Dean Dome. That's a lot of blue. Let's get to it.
Right.
But I remember one thing, and there was one specific team. It was Virginia Tech. I had played them the year before. I had a solid game. They're on their rah-rah stuff, but it's calm. I played them the following year. It's a very similar roster. They play with a whole different energy. A whole different energy. Like, I was like, this is not the same team I just played last year. Buzz, like, this is, what'd you do? Like, give them all 10 cups of coffee before the game? Like, they were playing hard, and it just is what it is. When you have that Carolina across your jersey, teams will give you their best. And when they're playing in the Dean Dome, it's very rare that the nerves really overcome them.
Right.
You're playing against guys that are high-level D1 athletes. They're going to come with excitement and just try to give you their best. And that's fun. It's really fun because every game you play is probably the biggest game for somebody's life.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so, let's talk about that season. Let's talk about your first season at North Carolina. How did you feel like the team did all together? I know you were able to make some impacts and did some great things for the basketball team. But overall, what was your thought process of your first year at the University of North Carolina?
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for Bet Rivers yet, now is the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the Scorer's Table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
I think back on that team, and I think we were very good. I think we're a very good team. And Theo tells me this all the time, but he was like, because going into my senior year, I had the hip surgeries and whatnot, and I came back just a little bit elevated as we like, my senior year definitely propelled me for the rest of my career, but physically I just felt a million times better. And he was like, man, if you could have just been that version of yourself the year before, if you could have just had that done a year prior, that team was special. And once we figured out our flow, which it took us a little bit, we stumbled maybe the first 6-7 games of conference play. We were just decent, which in Carolina terms is maybe ranked 20th or 18th in the country. But once we found our flow and, Theo's kind of ability to create was opened up, especially in late game situations, we kind of added in some, kind of uncharacteristic, like late game packages of, where Theo would be a ball handler, move Joel off ball and just kind of play with a lot of freedom. We figured out how to use our personnel to our advantage. We really caught on. And not only did we catch on offensively, but we really caught on defensively. And we were tough going through the ACC tournament into the NCAA tournament. One problem is we ran into a really bad situation with Texas A&M. We were a 2 seed. We were a good team. We just ran into a really bad situation with Texas A&M because they had 2 gigantic bigs, Robert Williams and Tyler Davis. And Robert Williams is playing well with the Celtics right now.
Yeah.
But they and their guards were hit in that game. But with us, a big part of our game is rebounding and playing in transition. It's always a staple of Carolina basketball. And we were the best rebounding margin team in the country. We had the best. We were plus 10 point something, maybe second best, if at the worst. And we did that with me being the tallest starter. Luke was our 5. Luke May was our 5. Theo Pinson was our 4. And Kenny and Joel aren't a huge backcourt by any means. But we just consistently attacked the glass. But in that game, those guys were just so big, we could not find that advantage. And that limits your offensive transition points. And that forces you to play in the half court and just bogged our game down. So in looking back at that game, you have 2 7-footers that we just could not find our rebounding advantage, and it hurt us. And we all know our teams at Carolina are really judged by their NCAA tournament success. That's how they're remembered. And that's the nature of it. And I think that team was special, a lot of fun to play for, learned a lot about ourselves as the season went on. And I thought we were a good group. I really do.
Yeah, y'all were a good basketball team. That's sometimes you run into that situation. I did feel like Texas A&M was going to be a tough matchup for you because I knew Robert Williams because I coached at Tulane, and I recruited him at Tulane. But Ahmad Gilder was one of my kids, and I knew that he was a good basketball player. He could shoot it.
And once those guys got the confidence, and they were cruising from there. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like you lost against a bad team. No, you lost against a formidable opponent for sure.
Yeah.
And so you alluded to it earlier. Going into your senior season, you chose to have, if I'm not mistaken, hip surgery. Was it hip surgery? Yep. Hip surgery. And you just said it made you feel better. Tell me about that decision process.
My whole junior year, I was struggling with it. But it was just difficult overall because I was also coming off knee surgery. So I had to constantly give attention to a lot of body parts. Right. You asked Doug Halverson, our trainer, and they still make jokes and say Doug is my uncle or Doug is because we spent so much time together. I'd be on that table for hours with Doug, right? Just trying to get ready for practice. And it's nature of the game. Injuries are nature of the game, and you learn to play through them. And so I was playing through it. And after the season, I was playing pickup, and I was playing, as usual. And Doug pulled me aside in the hallway and said, "Hey, if you want to think about getting hip surgery, you got to do it now, not tomorrow, right now, because your window will run out. And if you do it any later, then you'll be running right into the season. So if you want to think about it, we'll sit down, gather a list of surgeons, talk to them, and get this process started. Don't mean you have to commit to anything, but do your research."
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me do my research and see what's up there. See what we can make happen. And I talk about this freely because I really do think, some people won't mention their medical history at all, but I really do think it's important. And I really think it's something that I should share with people because one, it made a huge difference. And two, it's a part of my journey, like it's nothing that I'll hide from anybody. It's a part of my journey. It's what helped me get to this place. It's the obstacles I had to overcome in order to get to this place. So when I did my research, I found this one surgeon in Minnesota. His name is Dr. Chris Larson. He did Adrian Peterson's knee when he came back in like a few weeks, it seemed like, and ran for 2,000 yards the next year. But he was just a real, he had a real good way of explaining what he had, all my MRIs, my x-rays, and he broke it down. This is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to make you feel. We're going to do the surgeries in this order. And it was both hips too. And he was like, you'll come back for this checkup. Your rehab will progress in this rate. And he went through his doctor spiel and he just laid it out in a real way that I felt somebody I could trust. And I went there. I had one surgery in mid-April, the next surgery in mid-May. And I left that table, the surgery table, was feeling better. Like, I was like, this might really help. This might really change something.
Right.
And the hesitancy with getting the surgery is that I talked to some people and some people were like, I couldn't never get my burst back, or I could never get back to where I was before. And doing this, I was like, you know what, this is the only chance. Because once you leave to go professionally, you don't have the hands-on care if you're going through that type of rehab, especially if you're not already hooked on with a team, it can get a little tough. So I was like, this is my chance to do it. I'm going to do it. Prayed on it and just felt it was the right thing to do. And I spent that whole summer rehabbing them, with Jonas every day, with Doug every day, shooting, sitting down in a seat, shooting, standing still, dribbling on a seat, dribbling, standing still. And the funny thing is, when you have 2 hip surgeries, like, you are just not on stable foot most of the time. Like, you just got to be careful of where you're, like, especially in the beginning, like, you got to be careful. If you trip and fall, like, it's no good.
No question.
It's like, neither of my legs are working quite well right now. But I hung in there that summer and just tried to grind on it. And I was ready to go by early September and ready to get into the season. And as I was getting back, it was just a weight lifted off my shoulders. All those hours of treatment I had to do just to get to a certain spot where, I could get there within 15 minutes of work with our trainers and our strength coaches. And it wasn't even like, I wasn't thinking about the NBA. I wasn't thinking about, anything, but just the fact that, like, man, I can play the game that I love to play with less pain. Not that the pain's completely gone, but less pain. And it was just like a weight lifted off my shoulders, where I went into the season with a clear head, just happy to play. And I think that was ultimately what made things click for me my senior year. My base felt better on my jump shots, felt better defensively. Felt better changing directions, getting to where I need to go on the court, holding my ground on the court. And when you have chronic injuries like that, it's not only the physical where it affects, things you do, it's mental too. It's like, can I make this move right now, or will it hurt? Can I get over this screen, or will I tweak my hip? And so being able to let go of that to some extent was just huge.
Yeah. I'm glad that you are capable of talking about that, your injuries, because there's somebody that's listening. That's somebody that will need Cam Johnson's story to fight through the things that can put them in the position that they've been wanting for themselves.
Right.
It's very admirable of you to take that stance, to understand that you have a responsibility to others as well, and that responsibility of talking about the things that you had to endure to be the best Cam Johnson that you can be. It shows that it says a lot about you first and foremost. It says a lot about the person. It says a lot about the fighting, and the determination, and the will, and those are some things that it can't be taught. You can't teach that. That's in you, and I've had a lot of conversations with your father, Mr. Gill. And the one thing that I could say about that man there is when you have conversations with him, from a man's man, you understand what it's about. Life is about. And, he did an exceptional job with you and your brother. And it stands out when you listen to you talk about the things that you've gone through to get to where you are. And so here it is. You've had your surgery, starting your senior season. Now you're back in the position. Now you're back in the position that you once was when you were at Pittsburgh. Now, it's your team. It's your voice. You have some young guys that are coming in that are going to play that will need to play intricate parts in this team being a successful basketball team. So, how was that now being able to embrace the role that you once had, and now it's back upon you, but like you said, now you're healthy though.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I give a huge amount of credit of that to Luke and Kenny. And I give a huge amount of credit to that, just the whole roster. Nas and Kobe and Leaky. I mean, Nas was, he had hype coming behind him. Kobe too, Leaky too. These guys were guys that could have, in a lot of other situations, guys have come in with a lot less under their belt, with a lot bigger heads. And
right.
these dudes were listening. Me, Luke, Kenny, we said things, they listened. If we told them, hey, you need to go harder, they went harder. If we told them, hey, look out for this, they looked out for that. And like for them to buy into what we were doing, it really made our season. We relied on Kobe a lot as a point guard. You know how important the point guard position is at Carolina. It is as important as anything, the most important position. And we relied on him. So, for him to embrace that, it helped our team get to where we got to. And just a great group of guys. So it was, I've been very fortunate these last couple of years that I've went from a college team to an NBA team with great guys, great coaching staff, and I don't take it for granted. But that senior year was just so much fun because of that. It was, it comes down to that group of guys you're playing with, and it made it a lot of fun. And we found that out early. We had a trip to the Bahamas, and we had that foreign trip where we could play and go to the water parks and just have fun. And you could tell early there's a group. It was a good group.
Yeah. You guys really did a great job that year, and did an awesome job. And you played extremely well as well, man. You could tell that you had taken advantage of the resources. You had taken advantage of your time, and it was showing. And you made some big plays throughout that season, and you were very, very intricate in the success of that basketball team. I know you guys didn't probably finish where you wanted to finish, but you guys were a joy to watch. And for a person like myself, like I said before, there were conversations that, I would have with you, I would have with your father, here, and was like, in those 2 years, and be like, listen, work on this, or have this perspective and mindset, stuff like that, man. And to see you just blossom, you know what I mean? It was like, and it goes for all of you. It's not like, I love all you guys. I go to war for all of you. But there's a lot of you that have like gone through some things like I felt like I had gone through. You know what I mean? And to see those guys win, for me, it means a lot. You know what I mean? Nothing against anybody else, but it means a lot to me. And so, after that season, there it is, you're preparing for the NBA draft, and you're going through the steps and things like that. Briefly tell us about that experience of being, traveling, having to go to so many teams.
The pre-draft process was it's just a crazy process. You feel like you're under a microscope at all times, which is okay. The other side of the pre-draft process is you just get to, like, you have been an amateur so long that people have called you an amateur. I'm not saying that college basketball players are amateurs, because I really don't think they're amateurs, but you had that label on you for so long that is all you knew. So when I first got out of it and I was able to go around and, somebody's like, oh, you're not a college basketball player anymore. I can give you this now. I can give you these, this brand, you know what I mean? So that whole process was, okay, now we're in the real world. Like, we're in the real world now. I'm not tied to schoolwork and my college basketball schedule anymore. I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm working out for teams. It's definitely just a whole life change, lifestyle change. Just everything starts to change. And the workouts, I had a great pre-draft workout group. It was fun. We were getting after. You could feel progress. But the whole combine pre-draft workouts with teams, it's crazy. You're flying around, fresh off the plane, play, compete. And you got to show your best. You just have to. And, I mentioned surgeries and injuries before. I was 23 years old, which is, as you all know, much older than the average, lottery pick. Mm-hmm. And I had spent 5 years in college and I had 4 surgeries during that time. So every single stop I made, I had to try to defend myself.
That's right.
The hip surgeries were elective. I didn't have an injury. I just wanted to get better. The shoulder surgery, I'm years and years removed from that. The knee surgery, I'm all right. And the one thing that I tried to get teams to understand is that I am nowhere near my ceiling. I have a long ways to go, and I'm going to get there.
Right.
I did not grow as quick as my peers. I did not mature as quick as my peers. But I'm gonna get there. And I always said, I'm gonna catch back up. I was small in high school, and I always said when I was small, I said, I'm gonna catch back up. Just give me a little bit of time. And that was the one thing I think I got that through decently successfully throughout those weeks and months of pre-draft. And as it started to go and the analytics were from the season definitely favored, me and gave me a lot of assistance playing on a stage. Like, I had teams ask me, if you had stayed at Pitt, do you think you'd be sitting in the same spot with the same draft outlook? I said, absolutely not. They said, why? I said, you have to understand the platform that we are given at Carolina. When you succeed at Carolina, it puts you in very good standing. And they're like, no, we can find talent anywhere. We can find talent anywhere. I said, guys, I had teammates that averaged 21, 8, and 5 at Pitt, and they are not in the league right now. And they are talented dudes. I said, I really think that the experience at Carolina, playing on that big of a stage, playing in that type of program, sets you apart, from somebody who's playing at a program that's not winning. And you add on to the fact, I said, guys, the team was real bad too. When I left Pitt, the team was bad. They said, well, you don't think you could handle a challenge? I said, I wanted to win a championship. I wanted the challenge to be the championship. because that's always a challenge. I wanted the challenge to be the NCAA championship. So just having to defend every single thing that have ever happened in my life, I felt prepared. I'm 23 years old. I can handle myself in those situations. I felt prepared. I felt like it all went pretty well. Leading up to draft night, throughout that whole process, when it started right after the season, I was viewed as, between 25 and 30, 24 and 30 was where I was, seen as a pick. And it kind of got all the way up to that early, mid-late lottery section. And it was just an incredible time, because it's what we've all grinded our whole lives for, The sting of losing in the Sweet 16 didn't wear away, but the opportunity on the horizon, could make you feel a lot better, knowing that you're embark on a professional journey. The draft coming up. I watched every draft since I was a little kid and imagined my name being selected. And, to hear my name selected on draft night was one in and of itself a dream come true. Just one of the most gratifying, most thankful days of my life, and to be with family. So it's a lot of flying around. I'll give you a story to tell you about how busy it is. Right. I had went from Minnesota to Oklahoma City to Golden State to Utah. And I was on my way home. And I got home. I landed. This was June 16th, maybe. June 16th.
Mm-hmm.
June 16th. And it was Father's Day. Draft was on the 20th. I had finished all my pre-draft workouts. I said I got 3 days where I could be at home with my family, get whatever work I need to get in, and just chill for the first time in months. Just, let out a breath and let the rest of this process play itself out. I land the plane in Pittsburgh, and I take my phone off airplane mode. And basically simultaneously with me taking my phone off airplane mode, my agent's calling me. Yes, hello. What's up? And he's like, I need you to go to New Orleans and work out for the Pelicans. I said, man, I have just done 10 workouts. I had just done 4 in a row. Right. I'm tired. Tell me why I should go to New Orleans. They got the 4th pick. They got the 1st pick and the 4th pick. And he's like, they just made the Anthony Davis trade. They're looking to trade back. They need shooters. And he gave me this spiel. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I pack up my bags as soon as I get in for another trip. I go to New Orleans on 17th, work out on the 18th. While I'm there, Brooklyn calls. Let's do a workout on the 20th. I'm not going to the draft, so I don't take that workout, but it just shows you how hectic the time was. But in that New Orleans workout, I definitely did myself a solid because I really went to that workout, and I don't know what it was. Maybe, I don't know if it was good basketballs or God help me out, but I think I made almost every shot of the day.
Right.
And off movement, off picks. There was one specific spot where I missed a couple that I can't remember, but every other spot, go through this drill, come off the screen, make it. You got to make 4 of those. Oh, first 4 reps done. Okay, what's next? And so I was like, oh, well, maybe going to New Orleans was a good idea.
Right.
So the very next day, they traded back to 8 and 17. And I was like, there we go. Like, I really think one of those picks will take me. And so going into draft night on the 20th, I was cool. I was ready for whatever. Even if I did get drafted, I know I put my best foot forward.
That's right.
It was a crazy time. I enjoyed it. And you know how the story goes from there.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Because I was ecstatic, man, to to hear both of you guys, Kobe and yourself, Nas, it was just a great feeling. Just a great feeling. But like I said before, your road was a little different than others. And it was most definitely gratifying. It most definitely was gratifying. And so this is how I usually finish it, Cam. This question right here is a difficult question. It's it's a meaningful question. It's a purposeful question, and you get a few seconds to think about it.
Okay.
All right. When it's all said and done, when Cam Johnson's not playing basketball anymore, and he's living his life beyond basketball, and they're going through the archives there at the University of North Carolina, and people are talking about the North Carolina players and so on and so forth. What do you want people to know and to say about Cam Johnson?
This is an interesting question. And I thought a lot about it. And the best answer that I can give to this question is that as I get older, whatever I do, I hope my goal is to have basketball not be the first thing people remember me by. Mm-hmm. Something else in this world. There's a lot of things in this world. There's a lot of positive things in this world. And the ball stops bouncing, well before you get to be an old man.
Right.
And so I would, in my best hope, it would be, oh, he did play basketball too, you know? Oh, he did have a good career in basketball. And so that they remember, so that I can be remembered and as more than that, as, hopefully somebody that contributed to this world in a very positive way.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, man, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for your time. Your story is a story that needs to be heard. Your journey, what you endured, and to see the fruits of your labor and the discipline and everything that's about you to be on this platform. I think that, like I said before, you are a great example for a lot of kids in today's world. I think the toughest thing for any individual, especially when they come to the University of North Carolina, I've always said this, because North Carolina gets so many talented kids as student athletes. The most difficult thing for those student athletes to endure is adversity. And adversity in that perspective is just basketball adversity, it's really not life at that time, but it's just basketball adversity. And the most difficult things that I know, as all my brothers, that you have to endure is adversity. And everybody does not handle it the same way. And everybody does not come out of it the same way. And so, when you hear your story and to see how you've come out of it, and who you are today, and look at, I mean, you're an outstanding person. I mean, we all know that you're one of the top 5 North Carolina. You, Ed Davis, Sam Perkins, you Hubert Davis, y'all are the top 5, individuals, like people that have ever played at the University of North Carolina. But to see you also be the great basketball player that you always wanted to be, and the things that you did to get there, like, people need to know that. People need to know that, and you'll be an inspiration to many. You'll be an inspiration to many, and I just thank you for taking the time to be on the Carolina Conversation. You're one of my favorites. I got so much love for you. I mean, you're like, I'm the old guy. You know what I mean? So, you want people that you can use as examples, and you're one of those guys that I love to use as an example, because, I always say, you may not start in the same places as others, but you can most definitely finish where everybody else is. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that, I think that statement holds true to you. You didn't start where everybody started, but you most definitely finished where everybody wanted to finish. And, that's a godsend. There's no doubt about it. That's a godsend. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's please give Mr. Cam Johnson another hand for participating on the Carolina Conversation.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Tell Justin I'm trying to get in contact with him.
I will.
Trying to get in contact with him, and all your other, your other teammates. I'm in your era. I'm in you guys' era right now. So,
yeah.
Your stories need to be heard. Different stories, different walks of life, but you're much of who we are. You're much of who we are. You're much of who we are. And so, ladies and gentlemen, those who are listening to the Carolina Conversation, please make sure when you're not supporting the North Carolina Tar Heels, make sure you support the Old Dominion women's basketball team. It's led by Delisha Milton-Jones. The ladies are 10-2 right now, and got some great games on the road this weekend with UTSA and UTEP. All right. Thank you for participating and listening. Have a great evening.